Here are the top stories for today, October 4, 2019. Malacanang says President Duterte's second visit to Russia is part of the country's independent foreign policy. A Senate panel proposes increased police visibility in schools to prevent the recruitment of students by communist terrorist groups. The NCRPO calls on Metro Manila's police to focus on their mandate without being distracted by the issues hounding the PNP. And Taiwan extends its condolences to the families of 3 Filipinos who were killed after a bridge collapse in Yilan County.
Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Our top story for today, Malacanang said that President Rodrigo Duterte's second trip to Russia is part of his independent foreign policy to establish partnerships with as many countries apart from traditional allies. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo echoed what President Duterte said to Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev, that his visit to Russia will cement the improved relations between the two countries. Panelo said that Duterte mentioned an increase in cooperation between the two countries, particularly in defense and military, technical, trade and economic, and socio-cultural and education. Duterte also expressed appreciation to the Russian government and people for the hospitality extended to Filipinos living and working in Russia. Meanwhile, Malacanang denied that government paid celebrities who performed in some engagements during President Duterte's trip to Russia. Panelo said the celebrities paid for their own airfare and accommodations, being genuine fans of the president. Ties between the Philippines and Russia are expected to be even closer following President Duterte's trip to Moscow and Sochi. Duterte said since his first visit in 2017, the Philippines and Russia have expanded cooperation in various areas, including trade and investment, defense and security, energy and science and technology, among others. Duterte recalled how the port call of BRP Tarlac in Vladivostok in 2018 was a historic milestone that demonstrated closer ties between the two countries. For his part, Medvedev emphasized the positive developments in the Philippine-Russia relations, including growth in trade and economic relations. He also renewed Russia's interest in continuing various projects, such as in transportation, energy, and agriculture sectors, as well as humanitarian efforts. The Australian Embassy in Manila has underscored the broad and deep relationship between Manila and Canberra. This amid President Rodrigo Duterte's suspension of loans from Australia, one of 18 states which voted in favor of a United Nations resolution that sought to review on the country's human rights situation. Claire Duffield, the embassy's political and public affairs counselor, pointed out that the two nations' ties and cooperation cover a wide range of areas such as commerce and trade, shared beliefs and values. The diplomat highlighted the people-to-people ties and the upcoming 75th anniversary of the two nations' diplomatic relations in 2021. Duffield cited Australia's shared role in the campaign to liberate the Philippines in World War II, as well as peacekeeping and disaster relief. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo earlier said he doesn't see any adverse effect on the country's overall bilateral ties with the concerned 18 states, as one area of engagement is not the sum total of a relation. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III on Thursday said Metro Manila mayors whose local government units have been ineffective in the delivery of health services should return their supervision to the Department of Health. During the Metro Manila Council meeting in Makati City, Duque said certain LGUs have been ineffective in supervising their health services. He adds that health services systems that have been effective need not be returned to the DOH except those LGUs which are ineffective with regard to the delivery of health services. Duque suggested to have the local government code amended to accommodate such changes. COMELEC Commissioner Rowena Guanzon wants all losing party list bets be covered by appointment ban And DILG said the status on road clearing will be submitted soon. More on this from Benj Mondok.
Manila Water has asked the Supreme Court to reconsider its ruling imposing fines for violating provisions of the Philippine Clean Water Act. The company argued that contrary to the findings of the court, the petitioner complied with the provisions of Section 8 of the Clean Water Act. The concessionaires have claimed that the delay was not entirely their fault, citing the law's requirement for local government units to provide support water treatment facilities that can be connected to the concessionaire systems. In other news, Comelec Commissioner Rowena Guanzon said nominees of losing party list groups should also be covered by the one-year ban on appointment in public office. Guanzon's statement came after Mocha Uson was appointed as Deputy Administrator of the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA. Uson was a nominee of AA Kasosyo Party List Group which failed to secure a seat in the House of Representatives in the May 2019 elections. The Comelec earlier said Uson is not covered by the one-year appointment ban. Meanwhile, a team composed of different government officials will finalize a report on the outcome of the 2-month road clearing operations. According to DILG Undersecretary for Operations, Epimaco Densing, the validation is expected to be completed by Saturday and will be submitted to Secretary Eduardo Año upon his arrival from Russia early next week. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Mondok.
Still to come, the NCRPO calls on Metro Manila's police to focus on their mandate without being distracted by the issues hounding the PNP. The local government vows to help vendors of the famous Puto, Calasiao who were displaced by road clearing operations. These and more when we return.
Kung sino ang nakakita doon sa mga social media ng mga kabataan at tribo din namin na nagsasalita, ito ay binibringwas nila. Yun ang sinasabi ko na, ito na yung sinasabi ko na mga professional activists sila yung nahati sa amin. Masakit na sa tribo namin na kahit walang pinag-aralan yung tatay namin, sana ang ano ko lang na hindi kami gamitin sana sa masamang akala namin na mabuti ang ginagawa sa CPP-NP at tinutulong sa amin na gusto namin at ang pangarap namin makapag-aral at makapagtapos at magkaroon kami ng mabuting pinasasasa. At maraming buhay sa kabataan na sinisira nila. Ang student ng Salugpungan School, sobra 1,000. So ang 1,000 saan ngayon? Ang tanong. Andoon sa kabubatan at naghawak ng baril. Ang iba ay nandito ngayon sa harang para mag-baril. Ganun ang ginagawa sa CPP-NP sa amin.
Nagpapasalamat ako na nandiyan dyan sila. Isang malaking tawag dito, honor sa akin na makasalamuha ko sila dahil noong sa kasaysayan ng pag-aaral ko, nababasa ko lang sila sa libro. And ngayon, no, talaga napapaluhan talaga ako na, hindi ako makapaniwala na nandito pala sila at ganun yung nararanasan nila. Yung boses nila patuloy kong ibabahagi dito sa mga animal dahil isa din silang biktima ng panlilinlang.
NCRPO Chief Major General Guillermo Eleazar on Thursday urged police officers in the region to remain focused on fulfilling their mandate. Eleazar's remark came in the wake of allegations dragging PNP Chief General Oscar Albayalde into the Ninja Cops issue. He said that the war on drugs is a complicated matter and that the allegations against Albayalde should not affect the anti-illegal drug campaign. Meanwhile, police forces in northern Mindanao said their morale remains high despite the ongoing investigations on Ninja Cops. According to Lieutenant Colonel Mardy Hortillosa of Police Regional Office 10, the regional office will not stop the public safety services and that they will still continue to give people the better peace and order they deserve. Hortillosa also appealed to the public not to immediately prejudge the issue based on what they may have heard during the Senate hearings. A joint Senate panel on Wednesday recommended increased police visibility inside schools, strict monitoring of student activities, and the investigation of the alleged recruiters of missing minors. The recommendations were among the administrative and legislative actions by the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, chaired by Senator Ronald de la Rosa, and the Committee on National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation, chaired by Senator Panfilo Lacson. The panel said the only way to save the youth from being recruited is to prevent them from falling into its deceptive trap and to occasionally allow the presence of police forces inside campus premises. Meanwhile, among the legislative actions recommended by the Joint Senate panel is to amend Republic Act 7941, otherwise known as the Party List System Law, to remove party list groups that advocate subversive dogma. It is also urged for the immediate passage of the Human Security Act to address the terror, violence, and lawlessness perpetrated by members of the communist terror group. Digital wallet remitter GCash has been named the top mobile wallet used by Filipinos for cashless transactions based on a study by research group Nielsen Company. The study revealed that Filipinos trust GCash more than other digital wallet brands here for money transfers. It also showed that mobile wallet users prefer GCash because it charges low or no service fees for digital transactions. Anthony Thomas, President and Chief Executive of Mint, noted that Filipinos utilizing cashless transactions now comprise 19% or 9.3 million out of an estimated total of 49 million who do some money transfers. Thomas also said sending allowance for children and family members is the top reason for money transfers. He said he sees the potential of mobile wallets to grow despite only small portions of the total population are using cashless transactions. Authorities have tightened their checkpoints around Cagayan Valley following the seizure of at least 44 kilograms of suspected contaminated and undocumented pork meat along the national road in San Mateo, Isabela on Thursday. The suspected hot meat were not confirmed to be infected with African swine fever, but they were immediately buried in a safe dump site. Isabela, Quirino, and Nueva Vizcaya have imposed a total swine entry ban to prevent the entry of suspected ASF-contaminated meat on the region. Meanwhile, over 1,000 heads of swine from piggery farms in Pandi and Pulilan towns in Bulacan have been culled after being found positive of the ASF virus. Pandi Mayor Enrico Roque said on Thursday that a total of 191 hogs were culled at the Corpus Farm in Barangay Baka-Bakahan after testing positive with ASF. In Pulilan, Mayor Maria Rosario Ochoa Montejo said some 1,000 pigs afflicted with ASF in barangays Inaon, Tabon, Balatong A, Balatong B, Tinejero, and Dulong Malabon have been culled. Meanwhile, the provincial government of Zamboanga del Sur has activated a task force to monitor and regulate the local swine industry to prevent the entry of ASF. The task force on swine diseases was mandated through a provincial ordinance which seeks to regulate the raising, transporting, slaughtering, and selling of live pigs, pork, and pork products. The task force is headed by Governor Victor Yu. Any entity found violating the ordinance shall be fined up to 2,000 pesos or imprisoned for not less than 2 months or not more than 1 year. The local government of Calasiao, Pangasinan vows to help its local rice cake business after some local vendors were displaced by road clearing operations. More on these and other news from the provinces from Janice Cabe.
Some 33 stalls of the famous native Puto Calasiao in Pangasinan were demolished as part of the town's road clearing operations. Municipal Engineer Melanio de Vera said the Department of Public Works and Highways has seen the stalls to be on the right-of-way during the ongoing widening of a nearby bridge. The stalls were moved temporarily at the town plaza while their permanent location is still within the town proper. In Quezon Province, Lucena City Mayor Roderick Alcala and Social Housing Finance Corporation Chief Arnulfo Cabling led the groundbreaking ceremony for the tenement building for indigent families in Barangay Market View on Thursday. Alcala said the tenement will house 625 indigent families. The project is in response to requests received by his office from families who lack a decent shelter. Meanwhile, the Iloilo Sangguniang Panlalawigan approved a 100 million peso supplemental budget to aid farmers affected by falling palay prices on Thursday. Governor Arthur Defensor Jr. requested the supplemental budget to offer loan to accredited cooperatives which can reach out and buy palay from farmers in the province. The loan program can be accessed by 12 farmer cooperatives which are partners of the provincial government. He said this is their form of assistance for small farmers with the impact of the rice tariffication law. In other news, the Department of Education in Iloilo has vowed to look into the alleged recruitment of the CPP-NPA in schools. Newly installed Division Superintendent Dr. Roel Bermejo said he had gathered the support of the Iloilo provincial government for the implementation of educational programs. He said for the meantime, he has yet to receive a status report on the alleged recruitment activities of the CPP-NPA. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cabe.
Up next, Taiwan extends its condolences to the family of 3 Filipinos who were killed after a bridge collapsed in Yilan County. And the Bailes de Luces dancers of Negros Occidental showcase their talents in festivals abroad. We will be back after a few reminders. Taiwan on Thursday expressed its sympathies to the families of 3 Filipino fishermen who died after a 21-year-old bridge in Yilan County caved in on Tuesday. Nanfangao Bridge's collapse resulted in the death of 6 foreigners from the Philippines and Indonesia, while another 12 people were injured. 3 Filipinos were among the casualties, with the last missing body retrieved on Thursday. In a statement, the Taiwan government conveyed its deepest sympathy to all Filipinos affected. At present, TECO is working closely with Manila Economic and Cultural Office in Taipei to provide necessary information and assistance to all the related parties. It also expressed its thoughts and prayers for the affected families of the OFWs. And in our foreign news, about 26 people have died as authorities disperse protests in parts of Iraq. The Iraqi Independent High Commission for Human Rights said violence that accompanied the protests during the 3 days in Baghdad and some provinces also left over 1,500 people wounded. Demonstrations erupted across Iraq on Tuesday and Wednesday over unemployment, government corruption, and the lack of basic services. The demonstration turned violent in Baghdad as clashes erupted with the police. The Iraqi Defense Minister Najah al-Shamari said in a statement on Wednesday that he has decided to raise the state of alert for the Iraqi armed forces. In France, 4 police officers were killed and 5 others wounded in a knife attack at Paris police headquarters on Thursday afternoon. The assailant, identified as an administration worker in the intelligence unit, stabbed to death 4 of his colleagues inside the police prefecture after 12 noon local time. Reports said that assailant's motive could be related to a workplace dispute. Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo denounced the frightful attack. Health officials reported on Thursday that a 4-year-old boy who was hospitalized for suspected diphtheria tested negative of the disease. Rural health physician Dr. Lahaina Bulaong said the medicines for diphtheria were already discontinued at the San Lazaro Hospital where the boy was confined since Sunday. Meantime, doctors are concentrating on treating his pneumonia. In other news, health experts warn Filipinos to avoid missing or finishing their dosage of antibiotics just to save money. The Philippine National Formulary and National Antibiotic Guidelines explain this practice will cost them bigger expenses later when their disease or infection becomes resistant to antibiotics. It added that strict compliance with a doctor's prescription is important in ensuring the total healing of the patient. On September 26, the Department of Health launched the online version of the National Antibiotic Guidelines as part of the national effort to prevent antimicrobial resistance. With less than 2 months left before the start of the 30th Southeast Asian Games, the city government is going full throttle in preparing the Binyan football station for the women's football competition. Vice Mayor Jel Alonte says among the main agenda right now is to test the floodlights at the pitch. If plans push through, the venue will host the training of the Philippine women's football team, giving the home side time to get used to night games. He said the city government is also upgrading the venue's facilities with the hopes of finishing them in time for the start of the SEA Games women's football event. The women's football competition, one of the sports that will kick off before the formal start of the games, will begin on November 26. The Binyan Football Stadium will also host some of the men's football matches. The Bailes de Luces dancers of Negros Occidental are showing off their skills and talents in festivals abroad. These folk dancers have impressed audiences with their light show dance performances and artistry. Teresa Montemayor has the story.
The Bailes de Luces Festival performers of La Castellana Negros Occidental are making waves abroad. After winning first place in the foreign category of the Wonju Dynamic Dancing Carnival in Wonju City, South Korea last month, the Negrense dancers will return to the East Asian nation in May next year to perform in the Seoul Lotus Lantern Festival. Mayor Myla Nicanor Mangalimutan said 10 dancers will fly to South Korea to join the upcoming festival, all expenses to be paid by the organizers. The dancers have also been invited to perform in a tourism event in Hanoi, Vietnam next year. Bailes de Luces or Dances of Light is also the official festival of the municipality held during the Christmas season. It culminates every January 5, coinciding with the town's Charter Day. During the street dance competition, the performers use LED lights as their main props. They also wear bright and colorful costumes that emit light while they dance. Bailes de Luces is the people's way of thanksgiving for all the blessings they have received throughout the year. Meanwhile, Castellana's other annual celebration, the Banana Festival, depicts the town's thriving banana production. It is held every first week of April. Nicor Mangalimutan said they now need to regulate the shipping of bananas, particularly the Saba or Cardaba variety, to sustain the production of Saba sticks and banana strips. The production of banana sticks began 2 years ago as part of the livelihood program of the local government. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Teresa Montemayor.
Here is the latest in our community billboard. The Silliman University National Writers Workshop is now accepting applications for the 59th SU National Writers Workshop. This will be held from April 27 to May 8, 2020 at the SU Rose Lamb Sobrepeña Writers Village and the SU campus. This writers' workshop is offering 10 fellowships to promising writers in the Philippines who want to have a chance to hone their craft and refine their style. Fellows will be provided housing, a modest stipend, and a subsidy to partially defray costs of their transportation. Applicants should submit manuscripts on or before December 6, 2019. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories.
Malacanang says President Duterte's second visit to Russia is part of the country's independent foreign policy. A Senate panel proposes increased police visibility in schools to prevent the recruitment of students by communist terrorist groups. The NCRPO calls on Metro Manila's police to focus on their mandate without being distracted by the issues hounding the PNP. And Taiwan extends its condolences to the families of 3 Filipinos who were killed after a bridge collapsed in Yilan County.
Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out more news content, check our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And before we close for the weekend, remember, if you cannot do great things right away, do small things in a great way. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I am William Theo. Good day.